Okay, so because we're a virtual company, one of the most important things for us is communications. Communications is how we coordinate, it's how we get things done, and it's how we ensure that we're speaking to our clients and understanding things properly, and also understanding things properly and working together effectively as a team. So there are certain channels of communication that I'm going to cover in this quick overview that we use in the company. And then there's going to be trainings on each of these forms of communication, how we leverage them, with some short assessments attached to those. So the first is email and Gmail. Our company uses a company domain for our email, and this is so that anyone that's actually accessing our Google Drive system, or is communicating with each other internally with email if that's needed, or especially communicating with clients or outside vendors, needs to have a company email with a domain. And if you're watching this training, you fall into that category, okay? You're not like a exception. So basically, email is great general client communication tool for information that can be referenced or looked up like at a later date as far as communicating with clients. We prefer email as a communication tool with clients, generally speaking, for client. But as far as internal use, this is really only used to share general information that is meant for one-to-one or like private communication, one-to-one communication outside of our project management software and ClickUp, where team communication happens. So don't ever send internal emails with multiple team members copied in regards to client work. Because this is a situation where the team needs to be messaged in the team dashboard where we chat about client work in ClickUp, or in the actual task that's set up for that client, so we can post it as a comment and reference it later. So we don't use email as far as like, copying each other with long email threads regarding task work, trying to get something done, because this becomes redundant. And is also very difficult to reference in relationship to the task, whereas within a task in the project management software, we can reference a nice history of this kind of thing. So we do not use email for that. We do not forward client emails related to client work. As said, what we do is we actually will download it as a PDF and attach it to that comment. So always use a company assigned email account when accessing Google Drive, as mentioned as well. And this is for security purposes that we use our domain to access this. If we see people that are not, or outside of our organization, or not a client accessing client access assets, we will boot them from the Google account, and this will happen. So, to get the work done, you need to be using our company assigned domain email to access our Google Drive. So, a good rule of thumb with writing professional emails is that if it's going to take you longer than 3 to 5 minutes to write an email, you should probably just be recording a Loom video instead. And we'll get more into that later. So with Google Voice, this is a virtual office line that we use that includes phone calls and text messages. These are really just used for mostly client communication, so that we can reach out to a client's cell phone directly, calling them or texting them to create action or move goals forward. We do not use Google Voice for internal communication. So we never use our Google Voice number to call one another or text one another outside of that. We use the Google Voice account for client communication primarily. Our Google Drive, the Google Drive actually it actually serves as a form of communication because we share files within Google Drive. And we'll actually share collaborative documents within Google Drive where we can actually edit documents together or make comments on documents together that can be approved and added, like in our standard operating procedures, or in like client mockups when working with clients and that sort of thing, or in reports, maybe on spreadsheets and things like that. And so collaborative commenting in Google Docs is a form of client communication, as they can see your comments and you can reply to their comments. And again, we'll get more into that with Google Drive, but we want to understand that what we do within Google Drive in collaborative documents, where clients can see them, and where the rest of the team can see them, we need to compose ourselves properly there, and be professional about those Google Drive collaborative document comments, how we share files and how we manage files within Google Drive. Then there's ClickUp. ClickUp is our project management software and essentially our virtual office. ClickUp is where we organize things, keep records of things, set up projects and have tasks related to those projects, client files, the client profile where we keep information on clients. ClickUp is a very important tool for us and the cornerstone of our company. And so we use ClickUp on a day-to-day basis, almost every day. If you're working within the company, you are in ClickUp, where you can have tasks assigned, and we're managing comments in there where we communicate with each other. ClickUp is the primary form of internal communication for us. This serves as a record-keeping purpose and also reference for the team, because we work together as a team, and the team needs to see what conversations are happening with each other within ClickUp. So ClickUp is an important part of our company, and we'll go deeper into how to use ClickUp effectively for communication, how we use it. In addition to that, we also deploy trainings from ClickUp made by ClickUp for the technical use of the software. But as far as communication standards, I'll go over that with you regarding our project management software. We also use third-party platforms like Upwork, Freelancer.com, Fiverr, things like this to find new clients and do projects for clients that are short-term projects, so we can vet them and possibly create new clients as well, because we do good work for them. And these platforms have chatting options where you can actually chat with clients, add attachments, things like that. And we treat this much of the same way, these third-party platform chats. If you're interacting with a client on there, we treat this the same way as how we would maybe send an email to a client. It's the same thing. And we'll go into that deeper as well. We want to maintain professional communication when doing client-facing communication. So then we use Zoom. We use Zoom for video meetings, and this is more applicable probably if you're a client service representative. But we do use Zoom meetings internally as well, and so this is important for everybody. These are usually used for client meetings where we're trying to help them achieve a goal where they need to share their screen. We might even take over their screen. You can remote control screens with Zoom. Or annotate something. There's an annotating function where you can actually put a little arrow on the screen and point to something for them to click on and guide people. So Zoom is mostly used in a situation where you need to annotate things or guide people and show them exactly what to do. Or have a meeting where you can have a two-way discussion, usually asking open-ended questions, trying to figure things out, with people. And this does happen internally where a Zoom meeting is required so that you can have feedback for understanding or clarification, where maybe somebody's training somebody else to do something, and you have to ask them, do you understand this? And they can say no, and you might have to explain it in a different way, or show it in a different way, or show something that you didn't show or failed to show in the training. So Zoom is important usually for these kinds of purposes internally. And then we use a tool called Loom.com, which is a screen recording tool very commonly. This saves time with scheduling meetings or coordinating meetings where you might just simply need to show somebody something. You can just record a Loom of maybe you have like your face down in the corner, so you're speaking to something, and then you're showing somebody how to do something. The same kind of Zoom decorum applies if you're using it as a communications tool with a client. You make sure your background looks professional and that you look professional when you're on camera, and you're presenting yourself in a way as you would with the client in person, actually. You don't want to show up in your pajamas on a Loom video or a Zoom meeting. But Loom is specifically, it's more so designed to save time with meetings as a tool, so that you can simply talk something out and then, go ahead and show something on screen, maybe demonstrate something, and, let the person know, hey, this is pretty much what it is. You can email me back with a question or something, If you feel like something's more in depth or that person will have more questions, then a meeting might be required. But generally, we want to try to use Loom to save time in trying to schedule meetings and do that sort of thing. And usually you're going to use Loom in a situation where like an email seems like it's taking more than 2 to 5 minutes to write. If that's the case, then you need to record a Zoom call because that email is too lengthy. And we'll go more into it with the email training, but with professional communication, and when you're being professional with business communication, generally speaking, emails should be short and curt and to the point. If an email is long and lengthy, there usually needs to be a meeting or a Loom video recorded in lieu of that meeting. Long, lengthy emails are unproductive. They take a long time to compose. You have to review them and edit them. And then usually the person responding has to write a lengthy response responding to multiple points in an email, where there probably should just be a two-way conversation back and forth. And that email is too lengthy. And this is a time waste, because it wastes so much time to compose these and to respond to them, that a simple 5 to 10 minute meeting or 15-minute meeting could just resolve everything. That back and forth of long, lengthy emails can take up, half an hour to an hour of time sometimes to do. And this also applies to client services for those of you that might be like a client service success rep or client success representative working for me. You may find that clients send very long, lengthy emails, and you may just record a Loom to speak to all of them and send it back, speaking directly to the things they're talking about, or have one of our specialists maybe record something like a media buyer to send back to them to address all of the points, or maybe address their points and then let them know, hey, before we engage in a more lengthy email conversation, maybe you could just book a call with me using my call link, my scheduling link here. To save time, because it really can save a lot of time, because in the interim, people aren't always checking their email. Sometimes they check it less frequently, and so these long emails sometimes get sent out and they don't get checked for maybe like a day or something, and then another long email has to be sent, and then the other person has to do it, and back and forth and so on. So sometimes a meeting is required or a Loom video is required to get action going. So these are the channels of communication we use. These are 7 different channels. There's email, Google Voice, Google Drive, ClickUp, or third-party applications, Zoom, and Loom. This is how we communicate, and other forms of communication outside of this are prohibited. We do not communicate with each other through other types of chats or other types of channels. Now, there are rare circumstances where we use Slack channels or other types of apps with clients if the clients are requiring it, and it is authorized, and we say, okay, we're going to communicate with the client in a preferred method. Maybe if they have a team, like Slack is very common with this, or like Microsoft Office Teams, they have these group chats within other organizations, and they might want to add us to it, and that's fine as long as we can get like an email notification or something, so we can check that or check it on a regular basis. But generally speaking, we're going to ask our clients to communicate with us through email, because adding lots of different chat functions is very difficult. And usually if we do that for clients, they are a high-end client that's usually paying us a much bigger retainer than the normal retainer that we charge. So then, because they're paying us more, we'll accommodate more communication with them, maybe in a channel of their preference. But normally just for our base retainer fee, we are just going to use these types of communication. And internally, for sure, we only use these types of communication. Do not start Google chats with other people. Do not message people on other platforms within the team. We need to message them on ClickUp, by email, talk on Zoom meetings, or send Looms. And because we're a virtual company, this is how we communicate with each other. Once we start communicating outside of those things, communications will get lost. Especially in regards to clients and tasks. If it's outside of the ClickUp task for the client, it's not recorded in that task. It's not tracked, and it's a disservice to the client. It creates waste, and it is unproductive. So I highly do not recommend doing that. In fact, it is required that you use our channels of communication, and if you start using other channels, it's going to be a mark against you. It's going to be a thing where, I'm probably not going to want to continue to work with you in our company or have you in our company, because you're going to create problems when you do this. So following these communication standards and using the designated platforms for communication is highly important, and that's why I have this training on it. So this is just a quick overview. We're going to dive into each one in shorter trainings. All right? Thanks.